Hey everybody, welcome back. Fallout here, and today we have an exotic weapon review for you, the brand new Crimson, available in Destiny 2 DLC Warmind. I should specify, it's not a new Crimson, but Bungie has reworked most exotic weapons in the game to become better and feel more exotic. The Crimson is definitely way better than what it was before, so I'm going to give you a brief PvE overview and a PvP review of the gun. Really quickly, let's go ahead and take a look at the weapon itself. The Crimson is a unique hand cannon. It does not fire one bullet at a time, it works more like a pulse rifle. It fires in a 3-round burst. The gun wasn't too wildly popular before, but it has been specifically retuned for PvP along with the Warmind DLC, so I'll get to that in a minute. But let's talk about what the Crimson brings to the table. Utility. I'm of course referring to this weapon perk, the Cruel Remedy. Kills with this weapon heal the wielder. Precision kills also refill the magazine. That is what the Crimson is all about. As you might imagine, in PvE, this gun puts in a lot of work. It especially does really well against low-level trash enemies. Enemies like the Thrall. They're weak, they're small, they attack in large groups, you can just shred through them repeatedly, constantly replenishing both your ammo and your health. Really quickly go land on Mars, activate an escalation protocol, and you'll immediately know what I'm talking about. If you take a gun like the Graviton Lance and look at it as an offensive PvE weapon because it kills many enemies with an elemental explosion, you can look at the Crimson like a defensive PvE weapon. Its entire goal is to keep you alive, keeping you in the fight for longer. If you want to use the Crimson in PvE consistently, you're going to need to pair it with a longer ranged elemental weapon. Get used to that, that's going to be a very big theme with this gun. Speaking of which, why don't we hop on over and talk about how the Crimson performs in PvP. Taking a look at the recent Bungie patch notes, Crimson has refined damage, rate of fire, and recovery time between bursts. Like I said earlier, this gun was specifically retuned to perform better in PvP. And you know what? It really does. How good is it though? Is the Crimson going to become the new meta? Does it put in crazy amount of work in PvP? How does it match up to other hand cannons? Well, break out your calculators, boys. Let's take a look at the numbers. The optimal time to kill in PvP with the Crimson is by firing 3 bursts. If you have pulled the trigger 4 times, that's not bad, but it's not optimal. So how many headshots exactly can you land? How lazy can you be with the Crimson and still reach the optimal time to kill? Headshots with the Crimson will do 24 damage per bullet, and body shots will do 17 damage per bullet. Hitting an enemy with only headshots 3 times, that's a no-brainer. Totally, that is 216 damage, and that is strong enough to kill any Guardian in the game. What if you hit with mostly body shots though? Let's say you have 3 bullets that hit in the head and 6 body shots for a combined total of 173 damage. That's not strong enough to kill anyone. If you get 6 bullets in the head and 3 bullets in the body out of your 3 trigger pulls, you're going to hit 195 damage. For the most part, that's not going to kill a lot of people in PvP. If your enemy has 2 resilience or lower, they will die to 6 headshots and 3 body shots. So on that note, if you notice that your enemy is using the Crimson a lot against you, it might be worthwhile to make sure that your resilience is at least 3 or above. So here's the real important number. You want to pull the trigger 3 times, and of those 9 bullets, you want 7 of them, minimum 7, to go into the head, with 2 of them going into the body. If you can manage to be that accurate, that's a grand total of 202 damage, and anyone at that point is going to die. Again, is it a big deal if you have to pull the trigger a 4th time? No, it's not a big deal, it's just not optimal. And aside from upsetting Datto, wherever he is at the time, you're giving your enemy a better opportunity to kill you before you kill them. If you're fighting against an enemy who's using a regular legendary hand cannon at medium to medium-ish long range, and they're accurate, and you're not, they are going to kill you. It is far easier to land 2 headshots and 2 body with a regular hand cannon than it is to land the majority of your burst hand cannon headshots with the Crimson. Moving on, the Crimson performs best at close range. Ideally, you're only going to be using the Crimson up close or at furthest medium range. The utility on the weapon, again, it's just massive. Being able to gain your health back on every kill keeps you in the fight longer, and it potentially means that if you're good with the gun, you can build your Guardian around mobility and resilience, since recovery is already being covered by the Crimson. Because the weapon really thrives in close range chaos, it's a great pick for Rumble. Oh, and in case you were wondering, we can talk about the exotic Masterwork on the Crimson too. Obviously, it's going to give you the ability to make orbs when you get a multi-kill, no surprise there. Aside from that, it's going to give the gun a lot more range, which is nice. It helps with accuracy and landing your shots, but don't be fooled. Even though the gun has way more range with the Masterwork perk, it is still designed to perform up close and again at furthest about medium range. The maximum range you can land your headshots for with maximum damage before experiencing damage drop off per bullet on the Crimson is about 33.5 meters. And yes, that's accounting the range provided by the Masterwork. 33.5 meters is actually really good for a hand cannon. But again, despite that solid damage drop off range, it's still really difficult to consistently land headshot bursts from far away with the Crimson. And again, it's all about the headshots, people. Okay, so like I mentioned for PvE, if you want to seriously use the Crimson repeatedly in PvP, you're going to need to pair it with an elemental weapon that can cover the Crimson's lack of range. Some possible good pairings that right off the top of my head would go pretty well with the Crimson: the Manananan SR4, the Inaugural Address, the Darkest Before, the Pleiades Corrector, the Swift Ride. Hell, even the Uriel's Gift would probably get the job done. Basically, any elemental weapon that brings some range to the table is going to pair well with the Crimson. As far as exotic armor pairings, nothing is really jumping out at me. You know, you always have the Lucky Pants, which pair well with any hand cannons, but for the most part, you don't have to worry specifically about putting this together with a particular exotic. Just wear what you normally wear. The most important things to take away from this video is 1. The Crimson performs very well up close. 2. The gun has crazy utility. And 3. If you want to be optimal, it's important that you land the majority of your headshots in PvP. Now, I want to hear from you guys. Let me know down in the comment section how you feel about the newly tuned Crimson. Do you like it for PvP or PvE better? Do you like it at all? Do you not like it? Why? Sound off, let me know your thoughts. And while you're at it, let me know if there are any other exotic or legendary weapons, new or old, that you want me to do a weapon review of. If you're new here to the channel, then go ahead and click subscribe, click like if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. And if you want to go the extra mile, you can go ahead and click on the little gray notification bell. That's it for right now. More content on the way as always. Thank you for watching. Hope you learned something. See you next time.